Bananas with the guy at the top.
We have gone over a cliff in America.
And if you don't believe me, talk to somebody who had a baby and then think about how they were before they had the baby. That's called a transformational change.
Bing, 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 bing. She said Kamala has one big advantage. She's a very beautiful woman. I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
So much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
I want to talk about how Republicans, Donald Trump specifically, protects women.
At our 12-week ultrasound, our worst nightmares came true. The baby had stopped growing, but my body had not let go. I was told I was not eligible for any treatment at that point. The Dobbs decision was official, and abortion was banned.
If you don't know Amanda or a Hadley, you soon will. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments.
Now, it seems to be a theme. And I wonder why. Could it be because their internal polling showed them that they're about to get their ass handed to them over the abortion issue?
In 2021, I needed an abortion. After an ectopic pregnancy, I was able to access life-saving medical care when I needed it. And now I'm turning to IVF to build my family.
For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business. But those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human right. We have seen maternal mortality skyrocket in Texas, outpacing many other countries in the world.
Because let me tell you, what's hurt them so much in Texas? Women are dying in the parking lots of hospitals.
What was your first pregnancy like?
It was just so textbook.
But Caitlin Cash's subsequent pregnancies were anything but. In 2023, the 37-year-old from Texas almost died, giving birth to her healthy daughter.
I just kept laying there thinking, I'm never going to name that baby.
After her placenta failed to deliver, Caitlin says she continued bleeding and, according to her doctor, needed a D&C, which is often part of an abortion but can be necessary in other circumstances. Caitlin says she waited more than an hour for doctors to do the procedure, but her condition continued to deteriorate until she lost consciousness and needed a blood transfusion. She says the delay was later explained by a social worker.
She just kind of goes, oh, yeah, we don't do D&Cs anymore.
Texas had late-term abortions for a long time. They just called it the death penalty. Isn't that just a really, really late-term abortion? Texas has been running 20 to 80-year-old fetuses through old lightning on a conveyor belt, man. Texas is killing people in the 73rd trimester.
Women are having to carry dead babies inside of them until their body either rots from the inside or they go into a coma.
This is about healthcare. In Minnesota, we are ranked first in healthcare for a reason. We trust women, we trust doctors.
Donald Trump has been very clear that on the abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse. And California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. Georgia has a different viewpoint from Arizona. And the proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy sometimes is to let voters make these decisions, let the individual states make their abortion policy.
How can we as a nation say that your life and your rights, as basic as the right to control your own body, is determined on geography?
I'm supporting Kamala Harris because I'm an IVF mom.
It's not just the headline-making stories that these bans impact. It impacts people trying to build families, just like me.
All Americans deserve the right to build their families in the way they know is best for them.
We need to band together and elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
Okay, look, here's a situation. Let's say Roe versus Wade is overruled. Ohio bans abortion in 2022, let's say 2024. And then, every day, George Soros sends a 747 to Columbus to load up disproportionately black women to get them to go have abortions in California. And of course, the left will celebrate this as a victory for diversity. That's kind of creepy.
Health justice is when we exterminate working class black people. Something really,
exactly.
something like that could, I mean, that would be a really weird turn of events that could happen.
Yeah, and it's like, if that happens, do you need some federal response to prevent it from happening? Because it's really creepy. And, you know, I'm pretty sympathetic to that, actually.
Here in Texas, women are dying. It has skyrocketed, specifically here in Texas.
Caitlin nearly became part of an alarming trend. A new analysis of CDC data from the Gender Equity Policy Institute, exclusive to NBC News, reveals Texas saw a 56% rise in maternal mortality between 2019 and 2022. That's compared to an 11% uptick nationwide. Every demographic went up, but the biggest increase was among white women, up 95%. Texas passed a near-total abortion ban back in 2021. 13 other states followed suit after the Dobbs decision.
Is Texas a bit of a canary in the coal mine when it comes to this issue?
We have to pay attention to the data coming out of Texas. Texas, I fear, is a harbinger of what's to come.
In Texas, abortions are still allowed to save a pregnant woman's life.
You have practiced in women's health for over a decade. How does it feel for you working out of Texas now?
Very different.
Doctors, like Leah Tatum, are advised to use their best judgment. But if a court later rules they got it wrong, they risk losing their medical license, life in prison, or $100,000 in fines.
Now, Texas has always been bad for women. It's always been hard on the women.
Is it clear to you when you can perform an abortion and when you cannot?
No, not really. So there is just this hesitancy that you can feel practicing in Texas.
The Cashes believe it's a systemic hesitancy that contributed to Caitlin's experience.
I went into that delivery room with a doula and health insurance, and I'm white, and I have a master's degree of education. I went in with every privilege you could think of. And that still happened to me.
We're out here, we're talking to people about women's reproductive rights.
Okay.
What are reproductive rights?
Reproductive rights. I don't know, just reproductive rights.
But the way the law is now, your already dead fetus inside of you has more rights than you do.
What are reproductive rights?
You know, I suppose you don't think about that kind of thing unless it's a problem.
Now, Caitlin advocates for abortion rights.
What do you feel when you look at your daughter?
I feel deeply saddened and guilty about the future that I'm giving her. I get up every day and I tell these stories and I relive this trauma. It's because I'm going to tell her that I did everything I could for her.
Zincle Asamoah, NBC News, Austin, Texas.
What are reproductive rights?
They're what the state determines they are by your elected people in the state passing laws.
So we're going to continue to have more dead women. Now, Republicans say they believe in life. Let's go to the videotape.
The March for Life is a movement born out of love. You love your families. You love your neighbors, you love our nation, and you love every child, born and unborn, because you believe that every life is sacred, that every child is a precious gift from God. In the United States, it's one of only 7 countries to allow elective late-term abortions, along with China, North Korea, and others. Under my administration, we will always defend the very first right in the Declaration of Independence, and that is the right to life. On the National Day of Prayer, I signed an executive order to protect religious liberty. Very proud of that. Today, I'm announcing that we have just issued a new proposal to protect conscience rights and religious freedoms of doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals. So important.
Right. See, it's all talking point wedge issue bullshit with them.
Where would you rank the importance of reproductive rights?
They're way down at the bottom.
Can you hold up the list and then show me where it would go?
Well, they'd be down at the bottom.
All the way at the bottom?
Not at the bottom. It's above the bottom.
Above the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
So pretty low, though.
Yes.
Republicans are pure evil. They don't care about women. They don't care about life. If they did, they wouldn't be killing mothers in Texas who wanted to have a baby, but then died while they were trying because it was illegal for the doctors to treat them.
What are reproductive rights?
Tough question. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm pro-choice.
Freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose.
But with that being said, I think it's a very difficult issue. It's a very complicated issue. I don't think it's an issue that should be legislated against.
Because sometimes a pregnancy doesn't go well. I know that no male seems to be able to understand any of this. Once again, let's go to the videotape.
Is it unfair that women in certain states don't have reproductive rights anymore?
Every woman has reproductive rights in this country.
Okay.
So your question is not focused right.
Got it. Thanks for refocusing me.
Ooh. Particularly egregious. It's embarrassing that these laws are written by men.
I don't. But there is one thing about Kamala Harris, which I got a major complaint about.
Okay.
In the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month, they have abortion in the 9th month. Execution.
So for my whole life, I was a baseball player back on the East Coast.
Cool.
Okay? So I started dipping skull long cut cherry.
Oh, it's embarrassing that people call these fellows men. Because what kind of a man lets one of your women die in the parking lot? Why would you do that? It's sick.
So I come out here to LA. I go to 8 convenience stores. Nobody's got skull long cut cherry. So the 8th guy says, hey, I can't sell you that. I said, what do you mean you can't sell me that? He said, it's been outlawed.
Go to jail and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot? A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest? Being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that. Understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages.
I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the state.
Now the reality is it'll never happen to their women specifically because their women are rich. Their women can just go wherever. But unless you have your own fucking helicopter and jet, you're not going to make it out of Texas in time. Especially with the laws that now say that you can't leave to go have the same procedure done. Now, if you have your own jet, I'm sure you can just go on.
I said, what do you mean skull long cut's been outlawed? It's been banned. Can't sell it. It's against the law. I said, are you kidding me?
Is based on a fear that is greater than the actual reality. And if you don't believe me, talk to somebody who had a baby and then think about how they were before they had the baby. That's called a transformational change.
He said, no, thank Kamala Harris for that. She's the one who had skull long cut cherry banned. And yet marijuana, it's like on every street corner out there. You can't get skull long cut cherry, but everybody's smoking dope out here.
It's the best anti-abortion argument out there, and no one is making it. People do have their reasons for abortion.
It's crazy that in one state you're allowed to have that skull long cut cherry, and then in another state you're not.
Right.
Every state being different.
Isn't that something?
But underneath all that is the fear of this transformational change.
What's a bigger tragedy, women's reproductive rights getting cut or long skull cut cherry?
For me personally, skull long cut cherry.
If you gotta drive through Denton to get to Oklahoma, they're gonna stop you at the border. Fortunately, they'll have no idea what body part to check, because the reality is, Texas Department of Public Safety, they would not be able to pick out a part their life depended on it. And a clit? Come on. That would be hilarious. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. I feel sorry for their wives. Y'all take it easy.
He's a tough, smart guy. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. Well, they're the weird ones. JD is not at all.
The people who are most deranged and most psychotic are people who don't have kids at home.
Let's give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children.
I believe Usha is Hindi for unsatisfied woman. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Taylor Swift isn't the first successful woman Donald Trump has attacked. She's just the most recent.
I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. I'd say, Rosie, you're fired.
Trump has a problem with women. Disrespectful.
Must be a pretty picture you drop into.
Insulting.
Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
Even violence.
Ivana Trump once used the term rape to describe a sexual encounter with Trump.
It's ugly.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
It's cruel.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
And one thing he's proven is that he'll never change.
I could do this all day long.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
Would you want your son to treat women like Trump does?
Hey, when you're a star, you can do anything. Grab him by the
Is this how you would want a man to treat your daughter?
Blood coming out of her, wherever.
You know the answer. You know the truth. He says he hates Taylor.
I was not a Taylor Swift fan.
But the truth is, he hates all of us.
They'll tell you I'm insane, but I got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.